Driving's a big part of our lives, especially here in the States. We drive to work, we have our roles, we have our routines that we need a car for.
Driving is your freedom. The ability to get up and go somewhere, wherever you want to. You take so many things for granted. Just being able to get up and go to the local convenience store.
It's really scary to come up and to realize that you may not be able to do what you've always taken for granted. And you start to think about, how does this impact me? Because driving doesn't just impact your social part of your life, it impacts how you make a life, many times. Most of us are used to being mobile.
MS can impact driving in a number of ways. It could impact it physically. So when we're looking at strength or coordination in the arms or legs, when we're looking at visual perceptual skills, another important factor for driving.
In the cognitive domain, driving is very complex. So in order to drive down the street carefully and cautiously, an individual needs to process information very quickly. And so when MS may affect cognition, it may actually slow down these processes and then make it more difficult to drive safely.
MS has been a slow progression for me, though in the last couple of years I've noticed my gait has gotten much more stilted. My brain doesn't always make the right connection to my legs, and that has really started to show up for me in driving. I needed to start to look at my feet, which isn't really practical when you're trying to drive, and it was becoming very scary for me.
What made me realize I couldn't drive was that I had an accident. My wife had been concerned about my driving about a year before that, but I didn't want to give up my freedom.
There's been many stages of MS that I've had to say, okay, now we're at this stage and this is what we need to do, or, now we're at that stage. And this particular time, I had mentioned, you might want to consider not driving anymore. And he says, oh no, I'm fine.
I was coming out of a McDonald's, and I couldn't have the reaction time fast enough to hit the brake. T-boned the car, and although it was minor damage, I could have killed someone.
I think right after the accident, he said to me, I think this is it. So he came to the realization. I knew that he wanted his independence, and I knew he wanted to keep it. Me telling him, honey, I think it might be time. It took me weeks. I knew it was time a long time ago, but it's like it was hard for me to say it.
As long as it comes from the heart, that you're caring for the person, that you're worried about their safety, it makes the conversation much easier. When there's safety, a safety for the individual or safety for the community, that's going to trump independence. And it's trying to understand that. That's where it's coming from, that there's concern for their safety and for others. And that's why there's a recommendation to stop driving.
It was tough. It's one of those stages of the disease when you're beginning to lose your freedom, your independence. And you're trying to hold on to your independence and your dignity, and it seems to be slipping out of your hands like sand.
He'd get groceries, he would pick up my daughters from school and soccer practice and all the things that, that it took to make our family function. He was a part of it. So as he stopped driving, everything was my responsibility. And it was difficult for me. It was hard to accept. But, you do what you have to do.
It may be best to actually talk about these things before they occur. So to talk about what should happen when we get concerned about you driving, so that there's a plan in order to do that. And then finding a trusted person, whether it be a neurologist or a primary care physician or other member of the treatment team or planning team, that may have a conversation in a more open context.
I needed to talk with my neurologist, and I'm lucky. I've got a neurologist who wants to talk with me about everything. And I started to say, I'm getting concerned about driving. He was willing to come back and to say, we've got a way to fix that. That's not a big deal.
If a person's concerned about their driving, there's good options. It's not as black as white as you can drive or you cannot drive. If a person's concerned about their driving, I would recommend that they go and see a certified driving rehab specialist. A CDRS is able to evaluate individuals with multiple diagnoses and see if it's affecting their driving ability, and if it is, if there's any adaptations or modifications or compensatory techniques that they could use to still be independent and still be safe. There's a lot of vehicle adaptations out there. So there's steering controls for allowing someone to have more control and more ease to just turn the steering wheel. There are hand controls, allowing someone that has difficulty with coordination in their legs and feet, decreased strength or endurance comes into play too. They can use hand controls to be able to accelerate or brake. There are adapted vans where individuals that are in wheelchairs can go and drive either from their chair or go up a ramp and be able to transfer into a chair.
The day that I got my car back that had the hand controls on it was probably among I'm going to say probably my top 5 days in my life, because I got my freedom back. There's no other way to put it other than to say I now knew that I had returned to my normal life, and there was nothing between me and the open road. I mean, I love to drive. I love to take excursions. So yeah, I got my life back.